Well, we know going in that Putin didn't plan on taking Kherson or Zaporizhia. He might have expanded Crimea to include the section of Kherson that deals with water, because Ukraine had cut off water from Crimea. So there's an issue of water security. But we know that when the Ukrainians and the Russians met in Istanbul in early April, that the Russians were ready to have a negotiated settlement. They were prepared to do this. And I think Ukraine was prepared as well. A settlement that recognized Crimea, gave independence to Lugansk and Donetsk, but that was it. Everything else would stay with Ukraine. Under instructions from the British, which means under the instructions from the United States and NATO, the Ukrainians withdrew from that negotiation. Now the fighting has gone on. NATO has made a decision to transform the nature of this conflict by becoming a de facto proxy, turning Ukraine into the proxy of NATO. The Ukrainian military today is built in the model of NATO, equipped like NATO, operates like NATO. It's NATO intelligence, NATO communications, NATO logistics. It's a NATO army. And so to deal with this, Russia had to change the game itself. Instead of engaging in a battle with the Ukrainian military or NATO proxy on Ukrainian soil, Russia turned this Ukrainian soil into Mother Russia. It's now part of Russia, which means it has the constitutional protections that all Russia has. And this gives Russia extraordinary latitude in evicting Ukrainian troops from Russian soil. It also is a limiting factor in terms of any support NATO might provide, because NATO has to be careful not crossing that red line of being seen as attacking the Russian state, lest Russia say, you violated one of our nuclear red lines, and now we nuke NATO. So that's why Russia took it. Now, Putin and other Russian officials have talked about the importance of protecting Russians. Odessa is an area dominated by Russians. So is Kharkov. There are significant Russian populations in Nikolaev and Dnipropetrovsk. So a total of 4 more Ukrainian territories with significant Russian populations. If Zelensky wanted a ceasefire right now, I believe all 4 of those territories would remain as part of Ukraine. There might be some negotiation about Odessa to demilitarize it so that there's no more missiles that could sink Russian ships. But by and large, I think Russia would accept that. But if Zelensky wants to continue this fight, I think they're going to lose all 4 of those territories, and those 4 territories will be absorbed into Russia, just like the first 4 were, especially Odessa, which will lock Ukraine away from the sea and link Russia with the Transnistria breakaway province in Moldova. Again, Russians who have been disenfranchised by the Cold War. Russia would link up with them and provide continuity, and possibly invite them to join Russia. But I think that's going to happen. I think Kharkov will become Russian, and I think the other 2 might as well. So Ukraine's in danger of losing, close to 50% of their national territory. And once you start carving Ukraine up, what's to stop the Poles from moving into Western Ukraine? Stop the Hungarians from moving into their contested area, the Romanians moving into their contested area. Ukraine can be carved up, and at the end of the day, what remains of Ukraine will be unrecognizable. That's the danger that Ukraine faces in continuing this fight.